Welcome back to the program. Look, as conservatives, as patriots, as MAGA supporters, as Trump supporters, we are falling into a trap that the left basically didn't even have to set, to be quite honest. We're doing it ourselves. We have so many people that are Trump supporters that are just fixated, and I'll use the word fixated, on the Epstein client list. Well, you know what? I want to win. I want to make the country better and greater than it's ever been before. And I trust President Trump. So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read you President Trump's statement. And I'm going to dissect it in certain parts. You want to know why? Because he is giving us truth bomb nuggets of what is to come if we're just patient and we wait and we make it happen. Listen to this. What's going on with my, quote, boys and in some cases gals? This is from President Trump today on Truth Social. They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and, quote, selfish people are trying to hurt it. All over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's been Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by the Obama and crooked Hillary Clinton, Comey, Brennan, and the other losers and criminals of the Biden Otto Penn administration who conned the world with the Russia hoax, the 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, and much more? They created the Epstein files just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me. Let me see here. Whoops. And now my so-called friends, so now he's even questioning some of the people around him as loyals, are playing right into their hands. Yes, he's correct. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? If there was anything in there that could have hurt me or the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? Again, an excellent question. They haven't even given up on the JFK or Martin Luther King Jr. files, no matter how much, listen to this, no matter how much success that we have had securing the border, deporting criminals, fixing our economy, energy dominance, a safer world without Iran having nuclear weapons. It's not enough for some people. We are about to achieve more in 6 months than at any other time in history, in any other administration, in well over 100 years. And we are just getting started. We have so much more to do. We are saving our country, and we are making our country great again, make America great again, which will continue to be our complete priority. Let me stop it right there for a second. If he just said all of that, I'd say, okay, fair enough. Decent, not great, decent post. But it's this part here where he drops some truth bombs that we have all been waiting for since day one. When are we going to see any arrests? When are we going to see any indictments? When are we seeing this? When are we seeing that? Are they investigating this? Are they investigating that? How many times have we talked about that? How many times have we shown frustration from not knowing? And me getting my information from people close to the administration saying, don't worry, it's going to happen, but it's going to take time. Justice done right doesn't happen overnight. Okay? That's an interesting one. I just made that. I didn't make that up, but it rhymes. Anyway, so here's the important part. He says this. The left is imploding. True. Kash Patel and the FBI must stay focused on investigating voter fraud. political corruption. Act Blue. The rigged and stolen election of 2020. And arresting thugs and criminals instead of spending month after month looking at nothing but the same old radical left-inspired documents on Jeffrey Epstein. Let Pam Bondi do her job. She's great. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and they tried to do the same thing to me again in 2024. That's what Pam is looking into as AG, and much more. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way. Let's not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, yes, I understand people care. But let's look at what the truth nuggets that have come out that we have been waiting for. When is this going to happen? When is that going to happen? Right? And now we're hearing from President Trump that his Department of Justice, his FBI, are doing the investigations into the people and organizations that we expect. So you know what? Yeah, we're probably not going to get the quote-unquote Epstein list. But here's my thing. If you could get convictions and prosecutions on, I don't know, Autopen, Comey, Brennan, the 51 agents that lied about Hunter Biden's laptop, Letitia James, Governor Cuomo. The list is endless. Russia, all the bad actors in the 2020 election, all the political corruption, all the deep state officials. Or one list with, I don't know, probably 25 to 50 pedophiles on it. Now, I'm not saying that those people shouldn't be held accountable. But what I am saying is we have to look at what they are going after at the Department of Justice and the FBI. Now, why aren't they going after Jeffrey Epstein? I think it's pretty simple. Because many of them in the FBI, many of them in the CIA, many of them at DHS, many of them at NSA, many of them in Congress from both parties, many retired generals, many retired military commanders, many retired intel officials or current intel officials. They're all probably on the list. Okay? So it would be pretty difficult for him to just unleash the list. I made a compromise. I went out on X and I said, hey, great idea, guys. Forget the list. Let's concentrate on all of our wins. And how about they just go and arrest people and indict people and prosecute people? And by the process of elimination, guess what? There's your list. So what I'm trying to say is we've got to get back together as one group and movement in MAGA immediately and concentrate on what is going to come down the pike. Whether it's Kash Patel, whether it's Pam Bondi, whether it's Ed Martin, whether it's Judge Deneen Pirro, whatever. They're working. Harmeet Dillon, Leo Terrell, they're working. Bonji, they're working their asses off behind the scenes. But you know what? They're being quiet. Don't you remember Kash Patel was on Joe Rogan's show a few weeks ago, and he literally said that he found a secret room that had all of the Russia Gate stuff in it that was all hidden? Let's be patient. Let's concentrate on what we want to see prosecuted more than anything else. Because if you ask me, I want to see the deep state prosecuted. I want to see the people that stole the 2020 election prosecuted. I want to see Letitia James prosecuted. I want to see James Comey prosecuted. I want to see John Jihad Brennan prosecuted. I want to see Bill Barr. I want to see all of that. But they're being tight-lipped. They're being quiet. They're being meticulous. They're being, reserved. They're not going out and saying what they're doing. And that's exactly what we don't want. Quite frankly, President Trump probably shouldn't even have put that out there. Because now, what he just did, now those people are going to lawyer up. Now those people are going to be aware. Isn't the element of surprise so much better? I've said that numerous times. So anyway, let's not focus so much on the pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and everything else. But here's the thing. Why didn't Ghislaine Maxwell talk? Seriously. I mean, she's 63 years old. She got 20 years. She's going to be in jail into her 80s. Why not at least roll the dice, Ghislaine? Say, hey, let me out of jail. Give me a reduced sentence. And I'll name every single person, no matter who they are, on the list for an exchange of a witness protection program and armed security. Hell, she's an evil, evil, evil lady. Okay? And what she did to children and those victims is sickening and horrifying. But you know what? I'd let her go free if it knew that I could get 100 to 200 or however many of these sick pedophiles out there put in jail for the rest of our lives. We got to think. We got to think smart. To me, it would be a death sentence for her if she did do that, and she could ask her lawyers to appeal on a special circumstance, which is a viable option. But then the list would be coming out, wouldn't it? Be coming out from her. And the next thing you know, she might end up the same way. But regardless, we have to concentrate on what's good, what's pure, and what's happening behind the scenes. Okay? Now, let's move on. So, as we're talking about all this other stuff, we are winning. We are making money. We are bringing in cash. Things are happening. Fiscal year 2025 collections top $100 billion for the first time in history. June sees $27 billion in tariff revenue alone. U.S. Customs duty collections topped $100 billion for the first time in history as President Trump's tariffs generated massive revenue for the country. The new budget data shows that tariff revenue as a share of federal revenue have more than doubled, and tariffs have created a surplus of as opposed to a $71 billion deficit in June of 2024 under the Autopin administration. The Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced during a cabinet meeting on Tuesday that the United States is on track to bring in well over $100 billion in tariff revenue so far this year and potentially well over $300 billion by the end of this year. Not 2020, this year, okay? So what are we? August, September, October, November, December, 5 months? He's going to bring in another $300 or $200 billion in tariff money. That's going to help the economy tremendously. And now I'm hearing rumors, and again, it's just rumors, that Powell could be resigning. Fingers crossed. I hope it happens. It's just a rumor, but we'll see what happens. So again, I wanted to point that out as well. Now, this is interesting news that just came out. So just the other day, we talked about the Secret Service. We talked about what I believe is a criminal conspiracy with as far as the assassination attempt on President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th, 2024. They, a year later, suspended some low-level Secret Service agents that they are basically blaming it on, almost like a Fast and Furious, like I talked about the other night. And at the Full Throttle, we discussed, and I gave you information about the fact that the Secret Service sniper is not the person who took the first shot and hit Thomas Matthew Crooks. It was somebody on the ground that shot from the ground up onto the roof, and nobody had the name. I gave the name Aaron Zippoloni. He's a Adams County sheriff, I think, officer. So here's the newest information. Now we're finding out through Chuck Grassley, okay, that they knew that 10 days before Butler, 10 days before, there were credible threats against President Trump's life. The Secret Service knew this and refused to say anything to President Trump's personal security detail or any of the Butler police or any of the local law enforcement officials that were working that day to help out, including some of the lower level Secret Service agents themselves. Now, why is that? The Secret Service always shares information, always, with everyone. But yet, they didn't do it. They didn't do it. So my question is, who gave that order? Who told them not to disclose that 10 days prior there were credible threats that could be perpetrated in Butler, Pennsylvania, 10 days before? And according to Chuck Grassley and his investigations, quiet. Shh. They didn't tell a soul. If they would have told them, they would have had more assets in place. They would have had more sharpshooters. And they would have had more local state, Pennsylvania state, local sheriffs and police officers, a lot more of them at the event. But they didn't do that, which is why I say this is not a failure of operation, but rather a criminal conspiracy and, quite frankly, an inside job. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.